I'm looking for a sidekick. You know, someone that I can talk to and have something to just chat about while we're waiting on guests to appear. We want to try something new.
You're watching All That Buzz with Victoria.
I really need that chemistry. Really, really need it. I don't want to just have someone boring or bumping a log. And I also don't want someone that talks so much that I can't shut them up.
Our next Sidekick audition is with model and actor Lee Dalberg. Lee appears in one of Netflix's top 10 shows, Gunther's Millions.
Feel like that could almost be cult-like?
Not at all. Okay, so, wow, that is hilarious.
He also has his own jewelry line and has appeared on Shark Tank.
My name is Lee Dalberg, and I'm the owner, designer, and creator of a company called Rock Bands.
Lee Dalberg audition on set.
Hi. So thank you for joining us here. You have a jewelry line as well?
Yes, I owned a small ad agency years ago in Miami, and one of my clients made jewelry and for women. And I always had this idea of, I used to watch John Wayne films with my grandfather when I was young, and he was such like a hero of mine. And he always wore these big leather cuffs. One, he had a hunk of turquoise wrapped on it.
Wow.
And I wanted to modernize that. So originally I made this thing where it was a leather band with 2 buckles and a stone, and it was a rock on a band. And so I joked, oh, I'm gonna call them rock bands. And so
Oh, wow, I love that.
I trademarked the name, and then eventually I went into also beads and wallets, but it's stones with healing properties, like positive energy. So yes, it was just a rock on a band, but I thought it was a little deeper.
That's fabulous. And what about this Gunther's? What is Gunther's?
Oh, sure.
Because I'm a dog lover.
Well, then you're gonna love this story. So 23 years ago, wow, time has flown. I just moved here from London. I was a struggling model actor. I was friends with a bunch of journalists because that's what I always wanted to do. They had a function, like a wine tasting restaurant opening they invited me to, and I was more of a broke actor, like free food. And so I went under that guise, and the Deco Drive, which is the local news, sort of tongue-in-cheek, arrived to cover the event, and their reporter didn't show up. And so the cameraman knew me from being out in the scene, and he handed me a Deco Drive mic and said, please be the interviewer today. So
wow.
I ran to the kitchen, got the chef to do flambe, I got people to do drinks at the bar, I went to the pretty people and cut a piece of their steak, and we did it in one shot. I just said, welcome to the thing, you think it's hot in here, we go to the kitchen, and then a shot of water and sit down and eat a person's steak, and yeah. And then the woman next to me said, my gosh, that was brilliant, you spun the room in 2 minutes. Do you work for the restaurant, do you work for Deco Drive? I said, no. She's like, wow, you did this for free food? It's really embarrassing.
He's an actor.
But then she said, I'm a publicist and I work for a trust fund and they've been looking for a spokesperson. And from what I've just seen,
wow.
I think you're it. And so from that day on, I became the spokesperson for the richest dog in the world, a German Shepherd that inherited $500 million.
So tell me, was he a billionaire's dog, or was he?
Exactly.
Did he do commercials? Or?
There's a documentary right now on Netflix called Gunther's Millions, and I won't ruin the things, but as the story goes, a German countess left her inheritance to her dog, and then it was spoke about in the will that she wanted a group to go forward and to spread a positive message. So that's how I happened to get the best job in the world. So your love of animals is quite clear. So what do you do actively? Do you have an organization? Do you prefer charity? Or?
I actually help out doggy places. I'm really into doggy spas right now. I love it. I mean, I have a Cocker Spaniel myself that I adore. Do you have a Cocker Spaniel?
Yes, my best friend in the world. I lost him this year, but his name was Bob Marley. He was a Cocker Spaniel, and he had 2 colored eyes. He was really an unusual little guy. He was
wow,
so cool.
My last one was Armando.
Oh no!
He was a chocolate brown Cocker Spaniel. I loved him. I thought I would not get another dog. It was like hard. Like during the pandemic, you know, there were pandemic puppies.
Sure.
I didn't want to go out and walk a dog. I was in New York City at that time. So, but this dog here, I just fell in love.
Did he kind of find you? I know that's like cliche to say.
Well,
but-
no, I actually saved 2 dogs ago, but then, so that was Harry. Then I had Armando, and now I have a female Cocker Spaniel. And, but they do kind of find you. Like she came into my hands at 3 months old and we just like fell in love.
It's funny, a kitten wandered into my yard. Same coloring as my dog that had passed. Same coloring, exact. No other cats in the neighborhood are they've all been fixed, and nobody knew one kitten by itself, and just showed up, and his name is Elby, and now he's my guy. But he seems like the spirit of my guy that I lost. For 13 years, my dog was everywhere with me. And as an actor, he actually held his own. He was in quite a few commercials. He paid for his own food.
Oh, wow.
Best kind of guy.
Good for him. I'm jealous. Shark Tank is like one of my favorite shows
Really?
ever. Ever. So tell me, what did you do on Shark Tank? What were you pitching?
Sure. Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, the jewelry, it's a rock on a band, it's a rock band.
Oh.
That was sort of the whole pitch. But I was lucky enough to get on there, and as I was, back in the days of the height of this, I was in Neiman's and Saks and Bloomingdale's and Macy's.
Wow.
And I had, because of my acting years, I've been acting for 33 years. Wow, that's weird to say out loud. But so I was able to...
You're amongst friends.
I was able to put them on a lot of celebrities that I would normally have not had access to. And I was friends with a lot of groups, and they took me around and they took me under their wing. And I thought, well, that's going to sound a bit asinine for me to go on the Shark Tank and talk about celebrity. But I worked with Robin Leach from the
Wow.
Lifestyles, The Rich and Famous. We did
Wow.
a charity together, and we got along really well. Very strange to bond, but we did. So when I got the call for Shark Tank, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I could hide him in the back and write him a little speech? And so I did my pitch, you get about 4 minutes, and then I leaned on the door that you come through, and I said, you know, my jewelry is really popular in the world of celebrity, but you don't have to take my word for it. And the door's open, he's like, that's right, Sharks, rock bands by Lee Dalberg are the hottest thing to Hollywood since champagne. And I wrote him a list of like celebrities to mention, and then he said, you know, if you want champagne wishes and caviar dreams, I suggest you do business with the boy.
Right, that was
and
one-
then he just ran
right.
out. And that was the perfect generation, because a lot of the younger generation don't understand that that was the most popular show for 17 years on
No,
primetime
I
ABC.
remember that. Oh my gosh.
I think they have the MTV Cribs is sort of the silly version of that, or the watered down version. But it went great. I made a deal with Mark Cuban and Damon John.
Wow,
And,
great.
it was a bit of a learning experience.
Oh yeah. Now, did I hear you say also that you were a dancer as
I grew
well?
up, yes.
Because I'm dancing now too.
No way.
I'm actually learning how to dance. Not really ballroom. I do pop Latino.
Oh, no,
I'm dancing to Daddy Yankee.
Oh wow, okay.
And
It's nice. They're probably mixing traditional moves with modern music. That's like a way to
It's
make
so
it more.
great. It's so
I
great.
grew up all surrounded by women. My mother and my grandmother owned. My mother and my grandmother were both called Jillian, not Julianne, but Jillian, and it was a mix of 2 great aunts. And my sister is Jillian, my cousins are Jillian. It's a family name. But
Wow,
Jillian
that's
School of Dance
great.
was around for 50 some odd years.
Wow.
So I would come home, and there's a pirate ship in the living room because we're building it for Pirates Penzance. It's why I
Oh,
think...
so you did like
they did
shows.
Broadway shows.
Well, oh,
and
wow.
They used to be invited to the White House lawn, and they do this Easter performance every year with their young children. I'm from Amelia Island. It's about this big, and nobody knows where it is in Florida.
Right.
So to get from a town of 18,000 to... They actually made their mark. My mother was an
You went on the
amazing-
ship, the Pirates of Penzance ship, right?
I was joking earlier that anytime you hear the Muzak in the elevator, I know all the words because it's a Broadway show that I grew up
Wow.
doing. But I really think that's why I lean towards the arts. I'm a law school dropout, and now I think it's a better life because you can only bring the stories with you. My accountant doesn't always agree that acting is the better life, and all this other art.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, this Netflix show about the Gunthers, I've kind of taken the more comedic approach to it. Imagine that you're offered to work for a billionaire dog,
Oh my
and you're
God.
24 when they offer it.
That's
So of course
great.
I said yes, and my joke was, I would like to be a tick on that dog's ass for the rest of my life. It was totally in jest. And now I've actually started TickOnThatDog'sAss.com. I have a book coming
Oh
out the
my
same.
goodness.
You're talking about a dog that's worth $400 million. Oh, it's a true story.
And I like this guy.
You're watching All That Buzz with Victoria.
James. Who's on deck next?
Actor Tom Dickman is known for the movies Rock of Ages, I Love You, Philip Morris, and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Well, thanks for joining us, but I can't remember. What was I Love You, Philip Morris?
It was a smaller film by Jim Carrey, or Jim Carrey starred in it. I don't know if he actually wrote it. But interesting fact, he actually was a co-writer of Ace Ventura.
Right, which was the second one that, right.
Well, actually, Ace Ventura was filmed years before I Love You, Philip Morris.
Oh, okay.
So that was the second time I worked with him.
That must have been so much fun.
It really was.
So interesting.
He's a great guy to work with, very funny. Although I Love You, Philip Morris is a little more serious than Ace Ventura. But Ace Ventura really put him on the map and was a great comedy. A really great experience for me. It's how I got into the Screen Actors Guild originally.
Everyone has their under 5, right?
Yep. Actually, I got into it doing a stunt.
More 5.
Because I also do stunt work.
Oh,
besides
okay.
an actor.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So speaking of stunt work, I don't know if this is a segue over there. What are some of your other interests? I heard maybe a little.
I've got a lot of interest. I used to be a motorcycle racer, raced at Daytona.
Wow.
I used to be a ski racer back in high school and college. I really miss skiing. I wish Florida had mountains. But
they don't even have fake ones.
No.
Right?
But it does make it a great place to drive an electric car because there's no mountains.
I know, I heard you're big in those electric cars. Do you have a collection or you have one?
No, I just have an interest in them. I invest in them. My son drives an electric car, which he is very happy with. And years ago, I had purchased a hybrid, which is how I got into it.
What is a hybrid again? Hybrid is so you can press a button and it switches on and off to the
No, you don't
electric?
press a button. It's seamless.
Right.
Some of the current hybrids, well, the best of the current hybrids coming out, gets 57 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
So that's a big difference from most ICE vehicles.
Like 20 miles.
Yeah.
I heard you say before you lived in Europe and you did some modeling there or something. What made you want to come to South Florida?
Well, I spent a few years living in Milan and also doing some modeling in Paris and in Japan. And it was a great experience. I'd like to know more about your work with the environment.
I'm actually doing shows to give attention to more environmental issues. I'm really working hard at raising awareness to these different organizations to deal with animals, animal misuse, environmental sustainability, like getting the plastics out of the environment.
That's great, yeah. A lot of people don't realize how much plastic we really use and how hard it is really to get rid of.
You do so many different jobs. What are some of your favorites, or what is your best favorite?
Well, I actually really like working in movies and films, so that's what I do mostly. I even took up truck driving, but to do it in the films, to work both in production and, well, hopefully someday in stunt work.
Oh, so like crashing and burning and
that would be fun.
tumbling over. I love
I don't know
that.
about rolling over in a truck, but
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so nice meeting you.
well, thank you for having me, and I wish I had more time to ask you more things about yourself.
Well, next time. I like him too.
You're watching All That Buzz with Victoria.
Lately, everything's about sustainability. You see protests and news reports about green products and conservation, and asking people to do more. And I have to admit, the pressure finally got to me, so I went out and bought an electric car. Now, I don't usually drive, but I thought I'd do my part to save the planet. It's not that I'm a big activist, but I get a little ticked off when a company pretends to be health conscious. Remember when that huge fast food chain was patting themselves on the back for changing their cooking oil, as if to say, look at us, we're more nutritious now. We're no longer frying our foods and our potatoes in animal fat. Isn't that great? They don't want you to know they replaced it with vegetable oil that has even more trans fat. I mean, we're supposed to believe this top brand fast food company is conscious of the environment? Please. They're casting more greenhouse gas than a bar on Super Bowl Sunday. They should get an award for all the greenwashing. Remember when they figured it would help the street cred if they replaced the plastic straws with paper? I thought, great, paper is recyclable, but the only thing is, their paper straw is the only type of paper that is not disposable. Can you imagine? The fast food industry isn't very transparent either, but I think a certain liquid glass cleaner company might be even worse. They claim their bottle is made from 100% ocean plastic. Only problem is, the plastic was never in the ocean. Talk about misleading.
You're watching All That Buzz with Victoria.
Okay, James, so who's up next?
Next is James Degnen. Hey, that's me.
Oh, nice to finally see you in person.
Hello, Vicky. Nice to meet you in person.
Oh my God, I'm pleased with your voice.
Well, people say I have a pretty good voice, and they say my face is okay, at least for radio, so glad to be here.
Why should I have you as my sidekick?
Well, I'm very passionate, like you are, about nature and animals. I'm just fascinated about the world and how it works in balance. And I know you're especially interested in dogs, and I am too. And I was curious after listening to some of your previous interviews, did you have a dog when you were young?
Yes, I've grown up with Cocker Spaniels. I say, it's kind of funny, I say I've grown up in a herd of Cocker Spaniels. I've had a Cocker Spaniel my entire life. I had an Akita once, but the rest have been Cocker Spaniels. I'm just addicted to them. I love them.
They really do worm their way into your heart, don't they?
And you can't get them out.
Yeah.
You can't get them out.
Well, I had my first dog I found on the street when I was about in 6th grade, maybe 12, 11 years old. He followed me home, and we had a beautiful Belgian Shepherd for 13 years, and that was great. And then many years later, after I retired from the IT world, I was out hiking, and I found another dog in a field. And this was in October 2014, and managed to get that dog rescued into a great dog area.
Like a rescue?
A rescue. Well, it's actually probably the best dog animal shelter I know in the area in Princeton, New Jersey. And that dog was transferred to that shelter, and 1 week later, she had 8 puppies.
Wow.
They all got adopted, and I became friends with the person who adopted the dog. And we go hiking every week or two for a couple hours on the outside. So the second dog is named Kaya, and it's just an interesting, I guess you'd call it an echo of my life with dogs.
Right.
So that's been my history with dogs, and I'm just more and more fascinated with learning about them and how they came from wolves and so forth. So
yeah, that's amazing to me too. How did the dog get domesticated, and like where did they start from? Like all that stuff.
I heard it was all about fast food, so to speak. The
Fast
wolves
food?
would hang around the fireplace where the cavemen were eating their meals, and they'd throw the bones out away from the campfire, and the dogs would eat them. And those dogs that were less anxious than a regular wolf, that might be more curious, would come and get closer and closer to the humans, and then gradually over time the dogs would hang around the humans, and the humans would hang around the dogs and train them to do things, and it was this symbiotic relationship between you're my dog, I'm your helper.
I'm your dad and your mom.
Yeah, I'll help feed you, you
Right.
help hunt with me, and it's just been a great relationship. I understand your interest now better, and I was just curious, how did you get involved in being a producer?
Well, I did a few stints in producing before my baby, which is Exiled Out East, which is sort of a spoof on the tabloid world. And I used it as my first one. I used New York Hamptons as like the celebrity society place where I can make jokes and have fun with, based on all the ridiculousness that happens in these places. And even Palm Beach has the same lifestyles and things too. So maybe I'll do Exiled in Palm Beach one day soon. It's fun because it gets to let you make fun of things that are serious, but you make jokes out of seriousness. Like I had a fictitious fundraiser for the halitosis Foundation, the Halitosis Prevention Foundation.
Oh.
And so I made fun of, there's just so many things out there. You have to make your choices of what you want to support. So instead of dealing with real ones, which I do, but to have one to make fun of.
So you have a fundraising production about the Halitosis Prevention Foundation?
Well, that's the production. It's called Exiled Out East. It happened in New York, but I'm going to do another one, Exiled in Palm Beach, and it might be another fictitious ailment, so to speak. And then you get the tabloids, you get the local papers, you know, it's like a whole world.
So I guess there's a lot of material out there, right, to work
There's
on?
a lot of material nonstop. There could be serious stuff, there could be funny stuff. You know, it's also one and the same. Sometimes you get some humor out of serious. Always, right?
I think humor is so important, and if you can bring that out against some serious information or issues we face, that's a great thing to be able to do.
And it brings more attention and awareness to it because people can, because it hits their funny bone and yet it's got a real message.
And in this world of social media, it's more likely that somebody will send something funny on to their friends, even though it may contain a serious message in it. Well, that's great. I like that.
So tell me, since you went to MIT, correct?
Yes, I did.
What is your viewpoint on the situation the world is in now and the dilemmas and where do you think we're going?
Well, I've always been interested in engineering and science and technology, but I must admit, you know, seeing the impact that man can have on our environment, it's very sobering. However, there's so many advances that are happening out there, like in the electric car industry, for instance, and building up the electric infrastructure using solar and wind power and other renewables. Ultimately, I have hope, but we're really at a tipping point, I think. I think we really have to be focused on understanding the problem is real, and we have real solutions we can apply to the problem if we really pay attention and make the investments that are necessary. And I think that's important for all of us, but especially for the young folks who are growing up and they're hearing all this doom and gloom, that, you know, this is an opportunity for all of us, especially for the younger generation. Not only in jobs, because, you know, this technology is exploding and we don't need people who have to go to college to get a degree. We have people who can go to vocational schools and they can end up, you know, learning how to install wind turbines and very good paying jobs like that.
Yeah.
So overall, I have more optimism than pessimism. I guess that's the best way of playing it.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. And
well, Vicky, it's really nice meeting you.
thank you for coming on the show today.